action.
He's built for this. Welcome back to the La Raza BIPOC Access Podcast. And we're here today with your co-host, Mark, aka Creative Logic, and your other co-host,
Spin El Poeta of One Mic Educators.
And we've got a very special guest with us today, and I'm going to hand it off to Spin to introduce our special guest.
I appreciate it, brother. And congratulations on that, Raza. You've mastered the rolling of the R, man. Very proud of you, brother.
Hard nights.
Yes, yes. Over to Amani Arts, a very beloved sister of mine, a concept artist, author, and spoken word poet, internationally acclaimed, I might add, based in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Her work is rooted in the representation of marginalized voices and in the curation of knowledge in accessible and culturally relevant forms, with a focus on Somali and Muslim narratives that are often under and misrepresented in the media. Her goal is to make learning fun, as you will hear today, creative and accessible, and inspire young creatives to explore their voices and their impacts on the world. Beyond the written text, I love this sister. We've done supreme work together. She represented us greatly in the Grow House Tampa Grand Slam alongside Amoya Ray, featuring down there representing Canada. And we've raised funding. We've raised over $1,000 US for the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. A very deeply committed sister, Meskin, as my Somali family has taught me. I hope I said it right. And it's been just an honor to work with you, Amani, and to have you here on our podcast episode 11. And also, you know, having you be a part of the One Mic Educators Collective, I think has been crucial in securing some of the funding we've received and all the multi-talents you bring to the table. How are you feeling today?
Blessed and highly favored, as you often say, you know? No, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be on. And it's also a blessing to be a part of One Mic Educators as well. I've learned so much. I've met so many amazing people, and we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do out here. You know?
We definitely do. And I think, you know, if you could just let the people know, you know, your life as a multi-creative artist, and something that boggles my mind, because I have my hands full with poetry. I can't imagine taking on additional disciplines, but you do it and you do it well. So if you could just share with us some of your multi-creative initiatives that you're involved with, and just let us know, like, how do you even allocate your time for each of the crafts?
Honestly, it's all about ideas. And that's what concept art is. It's mostly ideas that you deal with. And to me, what's important is that I follow my idea wherever it needs me and whatever medium it takes. So I explore random things all the time. And if I find it fun, then I'll continue going, you know? And it's really like the story that what matters to me. So things that are narrative based often draw me in more than something that's not narrative based. That's why I like poetry. That's why I like art, because it can have story within it. And in so many forms, right? Like through illustration, through children's books, through video games, through all those different mediums, there's a lot to explore. And so I kind of just follow the ideas wherever it'll take me. And then I learn a new skill on the way, because why not, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, why not for me? Is because I got my hands full as it is. How do you manage? Like, how do you choose what to spend time on? Like, what takes precedent, or is it just whatever the day is like?
Honestly, it used to be whatever the day is like, because I'm a bit of a person who likes to say yes to whatever interests me. But honestly, it's whatever I find really important. This message is truly what drives me. So a lot of my work that I do, it has to be in some sort of service to someone. Obviously, the arts often is a service-based industry in terms of when you're doing poetry workshops or even spoken word poetry in general. It's often a service of, like, you know, crowds and things like that. But within animation and illustration and things like that, it's also service-based. And if I'm providing a service that causes people to learn more about something or be emotionally attached or feel better or learn something new or change their mind, that's a goal of mine for sure.
And would you like to expand a little about this beautiful book that you're working on?
Yes. So one of my current projects is a book called Timmy and the Thought That Followed Him Everywhere. It is a part of my work as a story elf, part of the Story Elves workshop. Sounds so whimsy and fun, which it is.
Is that a thing, Story Elves?
Yes, that's what our company is. It's called the Story Elves. But it's whimsy and fun, but it deals with trauma-informed therapy and addiction, and learning about addiction through children's books in a way that's accessible to children, but also to all ages, through an IFS lens, which is a trauma and addiction therapy model. It doesn't just involve trauma and therapy, but that's a big focus of IFS. But it teaches a lot about how to explore different parts of your inner world, and the parts of you that might be stuck in certain spaces as a child of a traumatic moment, and how to dissect that and how those moments can actually drive an addictive process. So we are developing a story about sugar addiction because that's the easiest things that kids can understand. And it's something a lot of kids go through, is like this addiction to sugar. Where does it stem from? What could have caused it? And so we really focus on that, but we don't make it scary, because that's how often children's books dealing with addiction are. They talk about monsters or disease, when in reality, it's people who have gone through trauma. And it's really fulfilling work. This is a trilogy. So the first book we're currently just finished, and we're hoping to publish soon. And then we have 2 more books to explore the story.
That's amazing. So this is your career. This is your art taking care of your finances.
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely.
Congratulations on that. You just graduated, or you had a course. What were you taking?
Yes, I was in illustration and concept art. It was a 1-year program, 2 years packed into one beautiful, hefty, long year, but it was a good year.
So part of our whole process here, we're going to bring Mark on, is La Raza BIPOC artist for the grassroots artists. And it's so refreshing to have you here as someone that's making a living from her art. And Mark brings a lot of expertise to the table, in artist management. And so I just wanted to bring you in, Mark, to share with us, like, in your extensive experience, what do you think separates like the bohemian, I'm just doing it for the love artist, versus like Amani here, who's like doing what she loves, but also now making a career out of it and getting paid? Like, what do you think are the key factors for those artists that are not there yet that would like to get there?
I think one of the key factors is recognizing that art is your creative process. It's something personal to you. It's something that's expressive of yourself. But what you're looking for is to essentially make this your profession. And that means that now you have to understand the business of it, which is what audiences value from art, what they value from different types of art, who's the audience that values what you're doing, and then being able to communicate that value to that audience and find that target market. So I think what separates the two is kind of in many things across life, is whether you're looking at something as being your profession and your career or a hobby. So something that's a hobby doesn't necessarily have to encompass, you don't have to go that in depth with it. It's not really about how other people are perceiving what you're doing. A hobby is for yourself. You're just doing it. However far you go with it is perfect. But once it's a profession, you're not competing. So now you have other people who are offering the same type of product or same type of service that you're offering. And now you have to really hone in on how do you bring more value to that person, or how do you find the audience that brings value to you? So I think that's kind of the key, is looking at it as a business. So when you're creating art now, you're creating content. And you're creating, if you're going to monetize it and sell it, like your book, for example, you're now creating a product. So you've turned your art from putting it onto multiple pages, telling a story, and you've now crafted it into a product. And now, as you know, once your product is created, now you're going to be thinking about, how do I market this product? Where do I place this product? And how do I distribute this product so that people are able to access it? So I think those aspects are all just business. So I think, to your question, between the artist that is thinking about, okay, I'm creative, it just comes down to, do you actually want to deal with criticism? Because anytime you're going into business, you're dealing with criticism because you're putting yourself out there. So now you're going to expect feedback from people that you may have never wanted to even accept feedback from before.
Yeah.
So I think you have to come to that point of
that check.
You've got to get to that point of really recognizing that this is what I want. And because it's what I want, I understand what may come with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think on that note, there's also this sticky quality that sometimes we fall into where we think we have to cater or to pander to our audience and not move forward in our artistic craft because this is what makes money. But oftentimes I feel like when we draw ourselves a box of, oh, this is the only thing I can do. I have to make this type of content. I have to draw like this. I have to speak like this, do a poem that's all happy-go-lucky all the time. That's when you actually limit your opportunities rather than pivoting and learning how to do something else or figuring out something else. That's why personally, even though there's times where I found that, oh, this is something I see is very successful, I should probably follow this down the line. I'm just like, I could, but you know what's really interesting lately to me? Animation, that seems pretty cool. Let me try that. And you know what? On top of that, let's look into video games. How do they work? 3D, Blender. I want to learn that program, and as you develop your skill sets, you actually open more doors for yourself without realizing it. And then that just pushes you forward without truly, you might not realize it in the moment, but it's better than constantly just doing one thing. Like you can, jack of all trades, master of none, but it can be the better than the master of one, or a master of some in some sense, especially like in a world where a lot of people are solo entrepreneuring rather than like being in community or business, which is also something that is helpful and something you should do, which opens more gates and doors for you in terms of criticism, feedback, ideas, but because a lot of people are solo entrepreneuring, they have to develop multiple skill sets just to make sure that they're running correctly, right?
Exactly. You're pretty much the CEO of your company. And the CEO in any business, they have to understand the various departments to essentially be able to oversee the business. So and I like what you said there by bringing up that quote, because that's a quote that a lot of times gets misquoted. And it's very true that it's like jack of all trades. A jack of all trades is not a master of one, but a jack of all trades is better. Sorry.
Jack of all trades, the master of one.
Jack of all trades is not a master of one.
But it can be better than the master of some. I don't know.
We fucked this whole thing up. I think what I got was like a jack of all trades could be like a master of some, as opposed to a master of one.
Jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Oof.
The meaning is that like having that broader understanding of multiple things can be better than you only knowing that one thing. Like a CEO it's not going to work to be a CEO if all you understand is finance, but you don't understand operations, the marketing, or the other aspects of the business.
Yeah.
So to what you said there of like expanding your creative and not limiting your creativity, I think that's key to not limit your creative expression, because as you're being creative in these different ways, you're finding different ways to express yourself, and you might find that one of these is really what you love doing.
Yeah.
And if you never take that chance to actually just try, then you don't get to actually experience what's really for you. Yeah,
exactly. And that's actually something I really enjoy about my current work, because as a story elf, it's always fun to say, guys, it's fun to say. But as a story elf, I get to do multiple things. Sometimes I'm working on poetry and drafting poetry. Sometimes I'm doing storyboards because there's a vision I see in my head that I think we can, like all of us artists can work together to develop it more. And, it's beautiful to have that like community of space where you're like, oh yes, I can try new things. I can grow. I can learn from this and pass it off to someone else who knows how to do this better, and I could learn from them, and that's often what I hear in the animation industry is something that you can do. I've talked to a lot of people in the industry who are just like, yeah, if you ever want to learn this, you just go to the person who goes there, and then you just kind of sit and ask, hey, can I see how you do your job? And then that's how you learn, you know? So you learn by doing and not by overthinking, because we can also often be overthinkers.
A whole session right there.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Overthinking without taking action is going to leave you in the same place.
Paralysis by analysis.
Oh, yeah.
It'll either be blue or red, and then we don't get the event done.
Maybe it's purple.
I wanted to ask you, Amani, how did we meet? You showed up to one of the open mics, no? The virtual ones?
Yes. So I was following you for a while, like One Mic Educators. But I was all the way in Hamilton. And I'm just like, it'd be nice to come. I'd comment, oh, it would be so great if I could come. And just like, come on down. Just like, I'm in Hamilton. It's just like, ooh, come anyway. And I'm just like, oh, nah.
Gotta recruit, you gotta recruit the talent.
It's too far. But like when COVID hit and online slams and things like that were happening, I'm just like, you know what? Why not? So I came to one of the open mics, and then we had great conversations, and it was just such a nice vibe. And then we just continued talking from there, futures, and then a bunch of cool things and art and stuff. I
was impressed by Amani for a while, Mark, and she had a lot of other commitments and stuff, but one day I remember just asking you if you'd be down to join One Mic, as a collective, because up until that point it was just Glows and I was so ecstatic when you were down for it, and I wanted to what has it been like for you to be a part of the collective? Like what are some fun memories you have, or what are some passion projects you'd like to see us do?
So definitely Flying Foodies.
Yeah, we got to get that done.
Where we will fly and learn about our own culture's foods and write great poems about it. I think that's going to be really fun. But honestly, some of my favorite moments is us trying to plan out our grants and singing Sailor Moon instead. Always fun. Always fun.
Eating was annoying.
But like, yeah, those moments of, just casually being ourselves without like the ego of the arts world getting involved. Because sometimes there is an ego, especially in spoken word poet community, that we've often talked about, that often ends up blocking real connection from happening.
Yeah.
So it's those moments of just, hanging out, doing random things that actually end up being a moment that turns into poetry,
Like the archery we're going to do archery.
We're going to do archery. Why not?
And I know as part of that, we had that fundraiser for Palestine.
Yes.
Brother Muhammad. And, I just want to give you your flowers, Amani. It was such a pleasure to work with you, because it felt like we'd just be on Zoom, just doing different things to get it all done. And I was really proud of us, having raised that money and having donated it. And what was it like for you? And if you could also share where your love and your commitment to Palestine, comes from.
Honestly, like, Palestine has always been something about, but you don't truly know about it until you truly see what's going on, right? And so I remember when I was first actually starting to learn about what was going on in Palestine in like 2021, it was something that just stayed in my heart and stayed in my mind, that there is a whole occupation that is causing mass genocide onto people and no one speaks on it, And it was that just angered me, It angered everyone. But what truly was like the crux was after October 7th and the amount of like hatred towards Palestinians and towards Muslims. It was so bad that at some point I'm just like, is it even safe for me as a Muslim to go out? Because it was just so bad, And so, but the thing was, even though it was bad for me, it's 10 times, 20 times, 1,000 times worse for them, because they're being caused to leave their homes. They're being like, their land, their home, their history is being taken away from them, And we are kind of sitting here and living in comfort that we don't appreciate, And so I really wanted someone who I knew would be down for the cause, down to, talk about what's going on and fundraise, because we got money, we have enough to spare, you know? Even if we often think that we don't, we often have enough, $1, $2, $3. That could be enough to save someone's life, you know? And so it was truly just about bringing people together so that they could also feel comfortable to speak about Palestine, because you're not allowed to talk about it at school. You're not allowed to talk about it in your workplace. You can talk about it online, but you will get shadow banned, you know? And so that open mic was also a safe space for people to talk about what's going on, express their anger, express their grief, express their fear, while also having all those emotions be down for a good cause that actually donates and helps people get the aid and relief that they need, right? So I'm really happy that we did it. We definitely need to do it again, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot that we could do. I might not be able to go on a flotilla, but I can definitely raise some funds, you know?
Inshallah. And I know one of the things that I was really grateful to you is that it inspired us to go and get a grant from the Canada Council to do our open mic. And we named Palestine in the grant, and we named combating anti-Palestinian racism. And as a result, we've been able to platform Palestinian poets throughout the year. And, you know, having you in, I guess my last question, we had a collaboration with Voices from Diaspora. We got one coming up November 15th with We Liberate the World. And we, if you could speak on that open mic in Six Nations, the Woodlands Cultural Center, and when the Nora from City Soap gifted the kafiyas to the elders and the land defenders and the youth, like, what was that experience for you, like being there?
It was beautiful. Honestly, it was beautiful, because oftentimes we don't realize how much people want us to be separated from each other, and that, oh, why not focus on this person rather than this person, you know? Oh, what about? But it's not about whataboutisms. It's about community and coming together, because colonization is an ongoing process. It's happening here in Turtle Island, and it's happening in Palestine, and it's happening all over the world, you know? And it was a beautiful moment of recognition and bridging that gap between, oh, what about this? What about that? You have different causes. You have different cultures. No, it's the same cause. No matter how much you want to cause division and polarization, it's the same cause that's coming together and recognizing and shaking hands and it was just such a beautiful moment just to see, you know? I'm using the same words because it's hard to explain, but it was just such a nice feeling to see connection happening.
And thank you for that answer, Amani. I saw as well that you're wearing a hijab. I wanted to touch on that with you. What role does your faith play in your art?
Oh, it is a big part of my art. Honestly, it's something like if you asked me maybe 5 years ago, I probably would have not had an answer. I been wearing the hijab since I was in grade 4. So basically most of my life. But I never exactly had a full meaning to it, you know? I thought, you know what? It also keeps me warm during winter, so why not? You know, that's how a kid thinks. But I realized that it wasn't just that. It was just, it's also a symbol of my faith. You know, it's a symbol of who I am. And for me and art, and when I talk about representation of Muslim and Somali voices, for me, it's about seeing yourself in the way that the world doesn't want you to know. You know, like the world wants you to be a certain way. They want to showcase you a certain way. They want to showcase a hijabi who is oppressed taking off her hijab because that's freedom, you know? But for me, this is freedom, you know? My hijab is my freedom. That I don't have to worry about what someone might think of me, honestly. Oftentimes I find that people lower their gaze when they're looking my way, you know? They don't see me with certain intentions. And I appreciate that about my hijab, you know? And in my art, having my hijab, having my faith, it's about showing that we're not angry, we're not terrorists, we're not any of those things. We are just regular people who we love nature, we love swimming, we like archery, we're just regular people, you know, who have like a purpose to, you know, believe in God and do as God wills on the earth, which is, you know, be kind to one another, you know, make sure that you're paying people correctly, you know, like there's so many laws and things like that that people don't recognize or even want to find out because they're just afraid, you know, and I want my art to be something that provides comfort and something that also educates, because there's a lot of people who have misconceptions about Islam that I want to eventually, you know, get out of there, because what's the point of communication if you're not willing to ask questions and someone's not willing to answer? So I have work planned, hopefully, to showcase that more.
I appreciate you sharing that, because definitely it's about destroying stereotypes and stigmas and really recognizing people as individuals as opposed to grouping them based on another individual's history. I want talking about the history too of this grant project here. I know you and Amoya Ray got to travel to Tampa Bay to feature at Grow House Tampa Grand Slam.
Yes.
How was that experience going to the States? Is that one of your first performances in the U.S.? Talk a bit about that to us.
So before this point, I had never stepped a foot in the U.S. in my life. And honestly, I was so worried to go.
What were you worried about?
So not only because, you know, it's America and Trump was just elected, you know, he was just elected president. I'm just like, America, oh no, Florida is a red state. Oh no, I got my hijab on, you know. But it was honestly such a calm experience. I had so much fun. It was calming in the way that I didn't think it would be. Like, it was just, maybe it was the beach, maybe it was the waves, maybe it was the vibe, but that and being on the mic and the wonderful company of Amoya Ray, you know, it was just an awesome experience. We got to meet new people, we got to talk, we got to do our poetry. Funny story, I thought I was supposed to have two poems, but I had to have three. And so last minute, I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do? But like Amoya Ray like helped me like with my poems to show me, to help me choose, which was really helpful because I would have put out my old poem that I often do. I don't like the poem, but it's a fun poem. So I'm just like, I would have brought that out. Thank God I didn't have to. You know?
And I appreciate you sharing that. And I understand that you're planning to compete at the Canadian Individual Poetry Slam.
Yes.
In some of our previous episodes, Spin has already definitely given us his thoughts on slam poetry from episode 1, episode 3, even the Amoya Ray episode. But I want to hear from you. So a lot of poets, we've heard that they don't like competing in slam poetry. But what do you love about it and what motivates you to keep competing?
Oh man, I love competing because it's just fun. I do it for the love of the game, you know? I do it for the love of the game. And what I mean by that...
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
It's provocative.
It's provocative.
Is that a metaphor?
Gets the people going.
No, but it's just fun, you know? I think competition itself is fun. You get to learn about yourself. You get to learn about others. And spoken word poetry, the way it's designed is that it's about communication. Who is the best communicator? And it's also your words are reaching people, you know? And if you can give your best performance, give the best message out there, that might affect someone's life. That might make someone feel a certain way or think about something differently. And I think that's beautiful. And sometimes when you're in the open mic or slam, it's just fun to hear someone do a bar and you're just like, oh, you know what? I got an idea that's gonna make that even better. So I'm gonna beat you with a poem that sounds exactly like that, but better, you know? It's the drive to be better, you know? And that's what's fun because you get to learn more about yourself and like, oh yeah, I could do a poem this way. I don't have to have the same tone of voice every single time. Yeah, maybe I will snap while I talk, you know? Maybe I will do a little bit of choreography. Like, there are so many things you learn. So it's just a lot of fun.
Would you say it's kind of like how battle rap is in hip hop, that slam is that for poetry?
Oh yeah, yeah.
A good analogy, yeah.
That's actually so good because I was looking at compliment raps the other day and it's so fun.
Compliment rap battles are nicer than like slams.
Right? It's like, no, don't bring my mama into this. No, your mother is so beautiful.
I love her.
I love her so much. I want to thank her for giving birth to you, you know? But it's a fun vibe, you know? And that's exactly what slam is. Oh. And I'm excited to try and go to SIPs because it's going to be my first time going. It's been a while since I've competed, but I'm ready for it. I want to bring my A game, so I'm going to practice my best.
I got your back with it, homie, because when you win SIPs, you get to represent Canada at the Abiyala Slam and the World Poetry Slam. And I've been going down there for the last 2 years as a chaperone because it's been held in Mexico, so to translate for the Canadian champion. So I'm looking forward to going there as your chaperone. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Why do you think some poets can't separate their ego from the slam? Like, what do you think it is?
Honestly, poetry in itself is something that's personal to you, right? It's your experiences, it's your story, it's your words. And sometimes we can't separate the words and our identity from our poetry. So if it's being like scored, you're going to have the feeling that they're rejecting me rather than they're rejecting my poetry, you know? It's the idea of, oh, they're rejecting my life story rather than I just didn't communicate it properly, you know? Because it's just a battle of communication at the end of the day, right? But ego sets in when you feel like you have been rejected, that it's your life, that's your story, that's the problem. So I feel like that's a main cause of it.
Yeah, I got 2 rules, golden rules for me. Never blame the audience and never blame the judges. And what I do love like I hate it, but I'm starting to love it now, Mark, the slam poetry thing. It might come as a shock after all these episodes we recorded. But
oh my goodness.
Partially because I won $2,000 slam competitions since we started these podcasts. But what I love about slam is I won a $500 one, I won a $1,000 one, OG 500, and then I won a $1,000 City Folk Slam. Nice. And then my next slam was in Grow House, Tampa 3 weeks ago. And I almost didn't make it out of the first round. Nobody cared that I won whatever I won. It's like, you have to stay current and sharp.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to know what to deliver, you know? I delivered a poem that I think wasn't a good fit for the lack of melanated judges that we had present.
Oh, man.
But, you know, I can't blame them. At the end of the day, I should have chosen better.
Yeah, honestly, it's so interesting that you say that because it's like you do have to read the room and you have to read the vibe that the room is in. And that's something I'm getting better at as I grow older. Because when I was younger, I used to do poetry just to hurt people. So if I did my poetry and it's about something super serious, it was meant to make you cry. I don't care if you're black or white or green or blue or purple, you're going to cry. And that's what I want you to do, you know? But I've changed over the years. I understand maybe I don't want people to cry. Maybe I don't want that to happen. Maybe I just wanted to sit with them. And I need to know, what is it in the room? What was the last poet saying? What's the next poet going to say? You know, what do I feel the vibe is? You know, what is my story that I'm going to put out there today? Because me personally, I get really shy before a slam. So I feel more comfortable on a mic than I do when I'm like, you know, I'll hang out in the corner because as people know, visual artists are kind of shy. They're very shy. But I'm extroverted among them. But that only comes out once I feel like I'm comfortable. And so if I am going to think of this moment on the mic as my introduction, what is it that I want to say to the world today? You know, how do I want to portray myself? And can I do it confidently? That's the goal.
Moving into the business development part of it. And Amani came prepared with some questions for you.
So I have a couple of questions. So my first one is, what are 5 things that you think artist businesses need to work on or take advantage of when it comes to strategy, marketing, and funding?
Understanding who your audience is. So that marketing aspect, being able to do like target who your target market is, and also recognizing that the audience that you're targeting, it doesn't mean that you're targeting the audience forever. It's just that you essentially want to focus your energy, your message, the aesthetic of your designs, et cetera, to a specific audience that's going to react to that or see value in that. And then when you're marketing to an older audience or a different demographic, then adjusting that messaging for that demographic. So I look at it from the foundation of like creating your brand and having like your brand when you're thinking about your brand design, the fundamentals, the like typography, your colors, etc. Having those things and being able to essentially know when it works for a certain audience and keeping your voice, keeping your tone, keeping those brand guidelines, but you can still adjust how you communicate to make sure that you're communicating to the right audience. I think a lot of the times artists get caught up in looking at another artist and what fans they have, but it means that people value what that person's doing. Just because you feel that something that you're doing is better than that person doesn't mean that the audience actually thinks that way. So I would say that's one of the main things, is finding who's your audience and who you want to target. And to like what you said before, understanding yourself, understanding what you value, so that you build an audience around what you value, as opposed to getting to a point where you build an audience that's not aligned with your values. And now you're constantly having to go outside of your values to be able to monetize that audience.
Definitely.
So I think that marketing aspect, I would say, is one. Two is taking away the ego and the emotional connection to the art. I know that can be like a very difficult thing for artists to be able to do, but the sooner that you're able to do that from a standpoint of you feel how you feel, but how other people feel about it now doesn't have such a personal effect on you. Because I think that gives you the ability to keep iterating, to be able to keep changing and not essentially become stagnant, but just try different things until you're finding that thing that works. Because another key in marketing is about testing. So it's like you have A/B testing, for example, where you'll put out a graphic one way with certain colors and certain messaging, and you'll do a very similar thing, but in different colors or something else change, just to see what's the preference of your audience. So I think when you get into that mindset of not being attached to one thing and it needs to be this way, and this is the only way that people should be able to see it, like you like a movie, you create multiple endings. Like it may not just be that this is the one ending and it has to end this way, but you test out different ways by doing focus groups and seeing what the audience has to say about the art that you've created. So I think that would be number two. And I'm not going to give 5, I'll give you 3.
Okay.
But for number 3,
give me 5 things.
And number 3, the main thing that I always say to people is do your research, create a plan, execute the plan, learn from the plan, change for the next time, and execute again. Trial and error, fail. Like, get used to failing and trusting the process, that you're not going to do something and everything's going to work out. If you're expecting that you're going to have to find solutions, if you're ready for that work, you're ready for that challenge, then it's going to be a much better process, because even if you get to the outcome, it's a process that takes the most time. And if you're always frustrated and you're upset with the process that it takes to get to where you want to go, then the journey getting there is going to be horrible for you. And then when you actually get the prize, what's the prize actually worth it?
Oh yeah. Fire line. What is the prize truly worth it? Let's dissect that. And you know what? On that topic of dissecting the prize and if it's truly important, what role do you think community plays in building a strong artistic platform that actually thrives and survives long term? And how do you think artists should get started on building that artistic community?
I think they should look at, again, what their values are, what they're looking for in terms of values in other people, and then people kind of attract each other. There's many communities online. There's many art communities that you can join on Discord, for example, a variety of different like community platforms, even Reddit. And I think because there's so many, you can find your tribe. And I think that it's the key to it really is, like we were just talking about, that iteration, being able to take feedback. And I think when you build a community, because a community builds trust, you're more willing to hear that feedback now because you feel that it's coming with the right intention. Like the intention is to see you evolve, to see you grow. It's to challenge you as opposed to put you down. So I think community in art is important because, again, that feedback, that constant reiteration, trying new things, knowing that you're going to suck when you first start it.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people automatically just do great when they start something, but the majority of people, it takes practice, and it starts creating those habits and those best practice habits that over time you get better. You might start drawing and you start to learn different things about drawing. You start to learn about the shapes that make up a face. And after a while, you get even better at being able to draw faces. Yeah. It's just a process. Definitely. So I think falling in love with the process, trusting the process, and recognizing that networking, community, learning from others is a part of that process. Because there's no business that's essentially built just on one person. Even if it's a solo entrepreneurship, you have suppliers, you have vendors, you have other aspects that are making your business work.
Definitely. Okay, and my last question is actually on the topic of filmmaking and developing a career in film and videography, essentially. What are things that you think would help someone with a beginner filmmaking career who is interested in maybe video editing or marketing in for commercial versus social media? What are things that you think would be helpful for them to know? And what are tools and maybe even networking strategies that you think would be helpful?
One of the things that I would say is to start off by understanding what you want to learn about, where you want to go. So if you have certain individuals that okay, this is where I want to be in 20 years, or this is where I want to be in 25 years, starting to take those people and study their journey. So studying what they did. Did they do internships? Was it that they started off by volunteering? Did they just start creating their own work and then they got so good that somebody noticed it? And then that was the kind of that stepping stone that got them to where they want to go. So I think understanding that history, but then also if it's in the filmmaking, for example, also understanding the eligibility for unions, because a lot of different films, a lot of different projects, they're based upon union employees. And for you to be on that project, you need to be a part of that union. So IATSE, for example, is an example of a union, IATSE. And people would be able to look that up and see a location that's close to them and call them and get those eligibility requirements. Because once you're unionized, not only are you having a standard rate of pay when you're coming onto sets so that you're not getting shortchanged, et cetera, like you talked about earlier, paying people the value or paying people what they're worth. Yes. But you now also, because you're in a union, you have reps and you have other people who are there to also protect your employment interests and protect your pay interests, et cetera. So outside of the union aspect, I think it's really about the networking, being around people that can help you grow, that can challenge you so that you have people who are better than you. Don't be the person who knows the most within the room, but try to seek out rooms where you don't know the most so that you can learn from others' experiences. And I think that's kind of, to me, is a key, because what it allows you to do is not only learn from others, but build up your portfolio. So in the arts, your portfolio and your creative portfolio, your reels, that's essentially your resume. Yes. So the more times that you're able to actually go out there and practice and create something, the more that you're actually building that portfolio and that body of work. Yes. So I think really going out and trying it, if you want to be in filmmaking, use your phone. Start with your phone, start to film with your phone, use natural light, understand natural light, use bounce boards. And then as you start to go up that ladder, you start to get different equipment where really you're just trying to use that equipment to mimic that thing in the first place. Yes. So definitely. By understanding it from that, I think fundamentals and starting out in that getting the foundational education of what it is that you're interested in, I think that's the key. It doesn't need to be formal education, formal education, because now we have things like YouTube, you have master classes, you've got influencers that you can see that they're creating the work you want to create, and now they're showing you the behind the scenes of how they created it. Definitely. So it's really about having the knowledge and then being able to actually execute on that knowledge that you have to create the outcome. And I think people need to also recognize that creative and that technical gap that always is going to exist, because you're going to see what you want to create, but you're just not going to know how to manipulate the software or use the tools to actually get that output. But it just comes with time. Yes. So if you quit, you're never going to get to that point. And it's not because you couldn't have got there. It may have just been a few more steps before you develop that understanding where you can really fly with it. Definitely.
So I think some key takeaways that I got from our conversation today is definitely know your values and understand what it is you want to put forth and what your messaging is, not only to your audience, but to yourself. What is it that you want to explore and where you want to see yourself in the future? Make sure that you're just learning from everything that you do, learn from others, be open to ideas. Another thing that I hear is just execute, do the thing. Do it for the love of the game. Do it for the process, you know?
Exactly.
Do it for the love of the game. Whatever it is you do, from art to videoing, to marketing, to writing a poem that will go and be judged by 5 judges who will count your points from 0 to 10, 0 being the worst thing you've ever heard, and 10 being the fact that their ears jumped off their head and went to go kiss you and the mic because of the beautiful words you said. Out of 10, that's just the plan. That's what it is. Don't get butthurt. Maybe their ears won't fall off their head, but it's fine because their ears are supposed to be here, and at least they were attentive listening to you, you know? But yeah, so essentially I'm hearing that you got to just put yourself out there. Do it for the love of the game. Do it for the love of the process. And then from that point, just explore and have fun and look for opportunities to network, because if you build a community, then you're more likely to inspire other people, and you'll be inspired yourself to find new opportunities and chase a new thing that you never thought you'd do before. For example, learn how to animate, or go do Blender, or do poetry, or do animation. The opportunities are endless so long as you go out and find them and find funding for them, because there is always grants available.
And stick with it. Amani, has been an absolute pleasure. You know, it's
been great.
And in the conversation, I'm realizing you're the only poet, Black Muslim woman with a hijab that we interviewed for the series.
Yet.
Thus far, we want to keep growing it, but I'd like to leave the last word with you for, you know, young Black Muslim sisters out there, aspiring artists that want to start, that face, you know, the Islamophobia, you know, the questioning of the identity. Like, you're here standing strong on your identity. You're living your dream. You're getting paid for your craft. Well, what are your words of inspiration for young Black women, young Black Muslim women out there in the world?
I'd say if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. That's a quote from Jim Quick. And I think it's something that's really important to say, because sometimes we get very caught up in our identity as a weakness when it's also our biggest strength, because there is so much rich story and storytelling, and no one can tell your story as well as you can. Not another person, and definitely not AI, just saying. No AI, hashtag no AI. But it's something that I think, if you truly have something that you want to put out there in the world, make sure that it's something that you feel the most confident in. And it's something that, in your heart of hearts, it's something that is beneficial, not only for you, but I feel like to the world. Because I think a lot about, who is it that I'm reaching? Whose heart am I touching? And it's a beautiful experience to see a little girl who looks like you saying, I want to grow up and be like you, you know? And we really want to create those experiences. It's not just for the kids, but it's also for our inner child who wanted to do something like this, but was told it wasn't possible. It is possible, so long as you go out there and reach for it. And there's so many opportunities and so many ways to do so many cool different things now in this great year of 2025. There's so many growing opportunities and communities that you can join and things to create. So get to work.
MashaAllah.
I appreciate you sharing that, because I think a lot of times, a lot of youth, me being an older person, that it's almost like you're not recognizing the power of your youth. The fact that you have so much time to make mistakes, you have so much time to be able to try these things. It almost feels like, I think possibly the social media era, being able to see so many things and then compare where you are compared to another individual that has completely different circumstance and environment, it starts to make people think they're late.
Yes.
And it's like, you're not late. You're on your journey. And if you continue to just do these things, you're going to you're going to find your path.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't get me started on that feeling of lateness, because I feel it all the time. Am I too late?
She too late.
It's honestly imposter syndrome.
I'm 46 years old. You're good.
No, because the thing is, your 20s are so weird.
These kids kill me, man.
Your 20s are so
That is
weird.
true, though. Yeah. You thought life was over.
Right? Sometimes, like, you'll find people in your 20s at different places. I'm 23 and I feel like I'm in a good space. There are people who are 23 who have 4 kids. I'm just like, how did that happen? And then there are other people who are just like, I just want to finish school, man. You know, we're at different places in our lives. Like, we all maybe started on the same path through elementary, middle, and high school. But when it comes to your 20s, this is the time where everyone's paths branch off. So there's a lot to learn and a lot of the world to see. I'd say don't be shy to explore and give yourself time, but also don't take your time and with procrastination. Don't procrastinate what's truly important, because you might recognize in 3 to 5 years, oh my goodness, I'm getting old. I'm about to hit my 30s. What did I do? You lived a life. So go live your life and get to work.
Oh, we're good, man. This is awesome. Thank y'all so much. We're good.
We're good. And that is another episode of La Raza BIPOC Access Podcast.
Have a great day.